Yo, 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 it's Jeb in his house. Hey, yo, we're going to space, yo. Hey, yo, we're going to space. Rolling on 909s, making money big time. Hustle Uncle Sam on the taxpayer's dime. We're the spacemen in our space bridges. We gone from rags to buku riches. Throw your rockets in the air like you just don't care. Throw your rockets in the air like you just don't care. We a G unit, baby. And don't you forget it. We a G force, homie. That's a G level. We on fire like a blade of home down. See you later. But before I'm out, let's launch this Cap Simulator. We a G unit, baby. We a G unit, baby.
Hello everybody, the Lord Roots here, and welcome back to another episode of G-Limit. So, we had a number of things we want to do. Most notably, we want to be able to get a Kerbal into orbit. But, we need money for that, of course. And with the loss of Jeb, we are going to have some issues with that. So I thought maybe the most appropriate thing for us to do is to maybe look for two kinds of contracts. The first being something kind of like the following, where we do have to be careful with this, by the way. We have to get this set up, but one that would be real easy for us to test, and this is pretty easy. We basically, between 1,000 and 3,000 kilometers, 300 meters per second delta V, will test the solid rocket booster, and then the hope is that we will recover it. So we'll go ahead and do that. We want to minimize any staging errors that occur as a result of this. In fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to move this guy out here. We should be more or less set on this. So let's, let's roll. As long as we can do this. I forgot to take a little bit of sides with this. We have some atmospheric sides we can do. They'll be very handy for us. But there is, of course, that much there. And I think we had better deploy the parachutes to slow down. Not really the easiest way for us to slow down, but I think we'll be coming down, hopefully, over the launch pad. And so that much is going to be okay. What is more pressing for us is that we get Valentina into orbit. And that can be somewhat tricky. Because on the one hand, Valentina can control, the pod more effectively than anybody else. But on the other hand, we do not happen to have much in the way of supplies here. And unfortunately, trying to get Jeb up has resulted in much wailing and gnashing of the teeth. So I think we'll just get this guy back down here. Hopefully it will not tip over and we'll get the full recovery of it. Thereby giving us more in the way of money. I think that's flat ground. Okay, let's recover that. Now, what would be good is if we get ourselves a contract with the LV-909. It's the LVT-45 that we can easily do. And, I will be right. And we are back. And as it turns out, we have this guy right here that we can do for a little bit of extra cash. With the real thing that we want to do here being that we'll just get rid of this. We want to be able to gather enough science. We have this gimbaling engine here that I'm going to unlock, or I would have unlocked, rather, if we had the deal. I'm just going to put on a couple parachutes. The gimbaling will hopefully keep us set straight. We need to be within the regime of some 2,500 meters or so. And we might as well put on this thermometer as well. And an antenna. Which show... Oops. Well, that was kind of weird. Not quite sure what caused that. But we will take care of this very shortly, and the idea is going to be that we're going to... Well, we're not going to do half-shoot deployment here. But we'll need some things here. I think that gimbaling engine is definitely going to be something we'll want. So we have no SAS, but we do happen to have this guy here. So if we can just do that. We'll want to get up to speed here. Oh no. That did not work out so well because I really need this in a second stage. But we do happen to have temperature data that we can bring down and mine. Maybe what we'll do is I'll take this guy off here. And we'll put on a flea. Because we shouldn't have any trouble with this amount of mass lifting something up with the flea. In the interim, we do happen to have science here. And by collecting this science, we'll be doing ourselves a favor. Okay, let's recover that and try again. My goal is to at least unlock the LV-909 for this, as we presently do not have much in the way, and I will be right. And we are back again. Oh, I seem to be kind of popular today. Anyway, And we don't even need fuel in this thing. So we'll put this guy on a flea, which should have more than enough to get us up here. And maybe I'm not sure if I'm going to worry too much about science at the moment, or not. This contract is incredibly permissive. And can we get to altitude in time? That will be the question. There we go. Hopefully we will have not destroyed the launch pad here. But, no telling, really. And the launch pad is intact. I really don't want to spend too much time on this sort of thing here, because it's grinding contracts is incredibly slow, and I would rather not grind contracts if I can avoid it. I'm gonna lose a little bit of money here. I bet you this thing's going to start rotating like crazy, or maybe not. Okay, let's see. The Thud liquid fuel engine. Let's just see which one that is, because if that has gimbling on it, then I won't be too bothered by that. Let's see, we have the Thud engine here. I think we have more than enough money to research this. It looks like whatever it is, it's outside of our range here. Let's see if we can maybe find an engine of some kind. So launch escape system. Various parts here. Let's test the launch stability enhancers. So we can recover that. And of course that is too high. We want this about as close to the ground as we can get it. I'm gonna do like that, and this thing should land on its own. There we go. We'll recover that, and we'll recover those launch clamps, which may be a fair deal cheaper now. We'll just have to see. If we can recover that. Got about 200 back from it. I don't quite yet see anything that would indicate that this is well, let's see, what do we have here? Oh, these side engines. could deal with that. Just throw an SRB on here. We have a part that we have not yet unlocked, it would seem. There may be aerodynamic implications in this. What is our mass? That's a good question for us. We are 5 tons. This guy has how much thrust? 210. That needs to come down. Let's see, if we bring it down by half, then we'll have 4 times our weight. I'm going to bring it down to 25%, or thereabout. I kind of figured it was those side boosters, and we might put a little bit of fuel in here. Not much, though, just enough to where we could test this if we wanted to. If it weren't for the fact that that wasn't in line, I would probably actually use that for the orbital mission. Looks like our thrust to weight ratio is just a little bit too great. I must have miscalculated something. As long as we remain in this regime here, I think we can get to the whole 6,000 meters per second pretty quickly. There we go. That was a close one, but that worked fine. And we'll just come on down here. I think we should be hitting... In fact, we did hit apoapsis relatively quickly. Which means, of course, that we are... I'm thinking we'll gather this here. It didn't get as high as we wanted to. Or maybe we did. And we'll do subsequent missions by maybe trying to gather some temperature data. There we go, 1.4 science. We are slowly but surely getting the science we need for those 909s. There we go. I think that's something I can do. And one more moment. I'm just going to accept this contract. And we are back. So I went ahead and accepted that 909 contract. We're not going to complete it just yet, even though we could, because we really need that engine. So what I've decided to do is we're going to build ourselves a moon rocket. Without a moon rocket, we can't get to the moon quite yet. But, however, we can build ourselves an orbital rocket for Valentina. And what we want is to designed this thing to maybe have about 4,500 delta V. So what is delta V anyway? Well, delta V is the first integral with respect to time of your instantaneous thrust over the rocket mass, and that actually changes over time. So if you do the math, you find out that it is something like the exhaust velocity times the natural logarithm of the mass of your full vessel minus the mass of your empty vessel. We don't have exhaust velocity, but we do have something kind of akin to it. If we right click on this guy here, we happen to have ISP, the specific impulse, and specific impulse is basically your exhaust velocity divided by your by the force of gravity, which I believe on Kerbal is 9.81, which means that we can take this guy here, and I'm just going to throw on a heat shield real quick. We can take it, and we can calculate the mass, or the delta V rather, for this one stage. So let me just slap on a parachute, and we will throw this decoupler down. We currently have a mass of 4.7, or 4 tons rather. So we have 4 tons with an ISP, hopefully out of the atmosphere at this point, of 345. Now I'm using a calculator from Strout.net or Strout.net. I'm not exactly sure what the, is it 4.5 or 4.0? I need to double check. 4.0. We have 4.0 here, and 345 as our ISP, which is not bad at all. However, this is our full weight here, or our full mass. Empty, we've got 3 tons, which means that this rocket here has a delta V of 99 meters per second. Something, oh, that's exhaust velocity. Let's compute this again. 3, 4, 5, 973. So we need to come up with a stage that can lift no less than really about 2,200 tons. Probably better to be safe and do 2,600 or even 3,000. Now, for the purposes of the second stage, this is going to be payload, and so we're not going to empty this guy of fuel just quite yet. That would be somewhat premature, so we'll move this guy up here. And I believe we could maybe do it with 6 of these tanks here. Something kinda like that. Really hard to tell with something like that, but we'll take this guy, which has a substandard thrust, the swivel engine. It has an ISP of 270, and our full mass is 12.3 tons. So we'll put that in. 12.3 tons, and dry, that is probably going to be closer to, I want to say 6 or so tons, maybe 7. .3 tons with an ISP of 280 rather. Well, that's 270. We have, what was it, 6.3 tons here. And that ISP is 751. Now there is a pressing question here. Can we actually get this much fuel up with our thrust? At sea level we can lift 16 tons, so I believe we're not quite past that limit yet. Maybe an additional fuel tank. That's full 1.125. So if we add 2 more, we add 2.5 tons to this. And that brings us to 6.6 tons. So we'll have 6.6 tons here and 14.7 tons. Still not quite enough. Unfortunately, it may be possible, however, for us to do something different here. With that difference possibly being that we could throw on some side thrusters. And that may be enough to get us up. We'll just have to see. Can we find the SRB here? Now we already have an idea that we're going to have a, let me just duplicate this real quick. We're already going to have a pretty bad deal going on here. So I'm going to put on nose cones. And the actual thrust of this guy here is 210. I'm comfortable bringing this down as far as 20%. It'll make us a little heavier in the long run, but not such a bad deal for us. And hopefully, with this thrust vectoring, we can get a little bit more control than we would normally otherwise have. I'm going to call this GF 1.4. That's actually getting a little bit annoying. And we will go ahead and launch. Well, you know what? Actually, I want to put some instrumentation on there because it would be nice, let's say, to have this. We're getting about a 10K rocket or so. Now, it would in fact be possible for us to just have the solid stage on there, but the trouble with the solid stage is largely the fact that, you know, we have to carry it around. I'm not going to bother with the mystery goo at all. We'll maybe send up a satellite for that, but we want to send a person up and basically throw caution to the wind. It would be nice if we could possibly recover that goo container, but I don't think that'll be the easiest thing for us to do. So, SAS on. Full. Oh, right. We were lucky that time. It is good to make sure that we are actually fueled up. That could have been a very expensive mistake for us to make. So we'll fill these guys up. Probably best thing for us to do is to keep track of the masses later on. This is part of the reason why I use engineer instead of doing all the math by hand. Because we're slightly over budget. Well then, how do we get past that? I guess one thing we could do is we could remove one of these tanks, because we'll have spare Delta V. We're still slightly heavier. That liquid fuel is really quite precious, so I don't want to get rid of it. We're better off tweaking our SRBs here, just to get a little bit of a kick. Now, this is something that I have not really practiced too much, that is getting into orbit. Let's just make sure we're fueled up. Not under the new aerodynamics, at least. The old one is pretty easy to get ourselves going, but the new aerodynamics maybe not so much. I'm going to start pitching over now. We've had a minor issue that we are overburdened just a little bit. I was going to slap some science on there. I guess it's too late now. It would be good for us to follow this prograde vector. Because one of the things that we saw earlier is that if we don't, this guy will flip out. And we do not want that. We have Mach effects now. Hopefully we will not burn up. Okay, I'm gonna stage. And it is going to be time for us to gain surface velocity. Now I'm just going to bring this up here. We're doing an okay job. I mean, we're at least out of the regime of instability. And we will lose some Delta V here. Let's just take a look at this real quick. We want to bring this guy over as quickly as possible. It may be that we have plenty of Delta V here to spare, which I would not be unhappy with. Because we really only need it to get ourselves into orbit here, and just a little bit to get down. We will have to figure out more optimal launch profiles soon. But I'm going to use the rust here to raise my apsis. So we cannot warp to this, unfortunately. One thing we can do, though, is we can get the Science Junior out. Interesting. I thought that I did not recover that. Maybe Valentina took it up with her. Well, let's get ourselves a very, very shallow orbit going. And Dilated Root says good luck. There we go, we are technically in orbit. And we have a few things we could do. Crew report would be good. For 0 science. Now funny, we didn't return with that science though, did we? Because we have to recover it. Well, no matter. We just need one more point of science here. Get our EVA report. That'll give us 4.8 rather science. And you know what? I'm just going to I'm gonna grab this science here quickly. So that we can unlock some of the things that we want, because that 45 science is going to be very useful to us, undoubtedly. So we'll get an EVA going. I think technically are we close enough to this to collect the data? Perhaps so. I think what we were missing is a thermometer. Okay. Do we care if this thing lands near the KSC? No, I don't personally, because the money we've gotten from this is more than enough. But some purists may. And you know, I'm not quite yet willing to risk Valentina. And it's good to know that we sort of overbuilt this. I doubt Valentina has her space legs. And she is the only Kerbal to have actually survived a flight of any kind. Well, not of any kind, but an orbital flight. I think that this is cause for celebration. I believe maybe what I should do is try to come down over here. When we start burning up, I will jettison this guy here. Now you do want to be careful. These guys can, of course, overheat. And the one thing is, the more massive you are, the more likely it is that you'll stay, the more inertia you have. Speaking of that, we're coming in just a little bit sharply. Let's not kill Valentina on our way down. I will have to decide on our way over there if we want to maybe send a probe. There are other things too. For instance, we could go with planes. Planes will work. Although I do hate to fly. Although the new patch does sort of make flying time to jettison that. The new patch does make planes a lot easier in some sense. And a lot less tedious too. So there we are. We are coming up on the shore of the desert. We may hit these mountains, I'm not sure. We could definitely shoot for that. Now, some people reduce their ablator on these craft. I'm not particularly fond of that idea because we will recover that ablator anyway, and it will reduce the mass just a scotch. But, I'd rather have the extra heat tolerance. One thing that is actually rather nice about this is that it will be possible, through some means or another, for us to pick our landing spot. So here we have Valentina flying over the water. Maybe we can get Highland shots. We're diverging just a little bit because we're wanting to go prograde. Another thing too is we can extend our height, I guess, with clever manipulation of the capsule, although this is I think these guys have a center of mass down the center of the capsule. If you compare that to maybe Apollo, for instance, where that's not the case, where they had strategically changed they put the center of mass offset from the actual center of the capsule just very slightly so that there would be lift whenever you angle the capsule in such a way. You know, this just doesn't feel so dangerous. Not like maybe it should. Although, maybe what I'm doing is a little dangerous here. Because we'll come down on a slope. Ideally, we're on the shores. Okay, we are losing velocity very, very quickly here. Highlands. We know that the Highlands will work for me. I am going to pop the chute now. Because I don't quite know where the ground is. And that would probably be our fuel tank. We'll be coming down on a bit of a slope here. But I think we'll be able to manage. And a small amount of time warp could be in order. Let's just see. We actually have plenty of electric charge left. This is much, much more of a slope than I thought it would be. I'm a little bit surprised we did not kill Valentina. Get our EVA report here. We are still flying over the Highlands. See if we can get back in and maybe board. Okay. Some science there. How long do we have that contract? Is it enough for us to justify maybe doing some further grinding? One thing that may be justified here, and I'm trying to decide if we want to spend, we could spend 150 for more rockets, or we could spend 150 elsewhere. Namely the contract building. And I think the contract building is going to be one thing we can do here. But we'll need some money. See, this is 300,000 to upgrade. Meaning that hitting the moon is going to be difficult. Let's look at our science at least, see what we have here. We can get new fuel, which could definitely be useful here. Reaction wheels or planes. If we unlock planes, then we could get more in the way of science, just because we actually do have proper planes now. And if we get more reaction wheels, then probes will be easier to fly. And we need, well, we don't necessarily need the that. We will get a cockpit from that either way. Let's see. Definitely, I think more contracts are what we're going to want. Because we'll at least get maneuver nodes by unlocking that. I'm going to take the fly by the moon approach here. Now this one, I think, we have a year to do that, and a year is actually an awfully long time, I've found. So I'm going to take that. I am also, we do that, we could do visual surveys. Granted, not for much. Let's see exactly where it wants us to do those. That visual survey is going to be very close by. So you know what, let's take that one on as well. We can make that happen. I think the flyby of the moon is going to be the most interesting for us. Well, we could, so here's the question. Do we save up for, perhaps, this probe body, which is 90 science, and then maybe ride out that contract until we can sustain a trip to the moon? We could possibly do that. I think that would unlock a lot of science for us. Because this is really the only thing I want here. And we, on loan, we have that. That is going to last us for more than a year. So I think we can do that. So yeah, the plan will be to save up. Maybe get something in the way of science going here. And then, I guess we could save up some money here as well. And in the interim, we could do a test with this. Maybe not gaining much, except our foolish pride. Because we do have something that... I think we did take the Wilsey engine. I think it'll be possible for us to make this happen. And maybe there's something else. Visual surveys, EVA report on the surface. That is tempting, but the EVA report... Only thing I'm really worried about with the EVA report is, see, it's way over here, and I have no real means to get over there yet. So, that'll do it, I think, for now, at least. We can at least accept more contracts, and in that sense, we will be able to... We'll be able to do things that will make us happy, I suppose. And then we have something kind of like this. I'm going to leave that, because this could be interesting to do. just so you know, one thing that we cannot get at the moment, it might be interesting to have fairings. We could barely get those fairings if we wanted them. Lots of different directions we can go with this. And I think, I think what we'll have to do is decide whether or not we want to take this guy here or not. Because if we can we'll get at least 40k out of that, and that will help fund science. And then maybe we could decide on whether or not we want to get fairings or not. Because right now our probes are quite difficult to do. Maybe if I take a variant of that, the vessel we just launched, that'll make this possible. But that's something to consider for next time. Until then, I've been Lord Root, and I will see you later.